never had dreams of being a star. I didn't have ambition for anything beyond being a member of the National Ballet of Canada. There have been so many influences, so many people who lifted me up and gave me opportunities. Of course, Celia Franca from day one. She turned to me when I was very young because of emergency situations. She trusted me with a great deal long before I was ready. And she had the patience to help me. When I first danced Swan Lake, I felt that I did it entirely from instinct. But there was something about the way the drama unfolded that was very, very moving. There I was in my early 20s, and suddenly I was dancing with a legend. And this legend, Rudolf Nureyev, decided that he was going to show me what I was capable of doing. We could communicate with each other together without ever saying a word. When we got on the stage and we'd been through all the struggling in rehearsal, and magic really did happen. I love dancing the Merry Widow. I feel like I'm in an old Hollywood movie, and it's so much fun. It's sentimental, and it's glamorous. When I say I was in the moment, or I felt that a performance really was in the moment, it's because nothing else entered my heart or my soul or my body while I was performing, only what I was doing. It was my total focus and my total concentration was involved in my work for that time.
The warmth and the affection that I have experienced across this country has really, really been almost more than I can handle. I also want to acknowledge the National Ballet of Canada, the company that has nurtured me for so many years, has given me everything that I could possibly need and desire to become the kind of artist that I became.
What is a dancer without interesting choreography to do? What is an artist without interesting work to explore? When I think about everything that I was given all these years in order to develop my talent, I want to do the same thing for this generation.
A northern dancer infusing the bracing air with warmth and beauty and integrity.
I've had a very rich and wonderful life with the National Ballet of Canada. Not that, some of it wasn't tough. Not that there weren't hard times, and not that there weren't challenges I didn't feel I could meet, but all in all, it's been pretty great. Okay, all right, done.
Thank you.
Thanks to the National Ballet of Canada for providing us with that spectacular overview of our amazing ballerina, internationally acclaimed ballerina, Karen Kain. She exemplifies the beauty of leadership, the beauty of strength. So I can hardly wait to begin. But first of all, let me welcome you and thank you for coming to the virtual Pink Tea conversation. It's Happy Chinese New Year, the year of the ox, and it's also Happy Vietnamese New Year, the year of the buffalo. And of course, this is Black History Month, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So I hope all of you are continuing to connect in the chat room, because Canada needs all of us. Canada needs all of us to support one another. And we have to remember upon whose shoulders we are enjoying our life today, upon whose shoulders we are standing. And of course, that includes our Indigenous and Métis sisters and brothers. We are all treaty people. I'm Treaty 7. What treaty are you? Yeah, we are all treaty people. So some of us, of course, or most of us watching today are also persons, and that's thanks to the Famous Five. So on behalf of my colleagues, the board of the Famous Five Foundation, and especially the director of events, Prita Kalar, welcome to a fascinating virtual Pink Tea conversation. COVID has made me very grateful for the number of ways I can easily communicate. And that has caused me to reflect on how did the Famous Five and others make such big strides and improve a country when there was no phone, no faxes, no emails, no texts. They couldn't go on social media, and they didn't have cars. This was 100 years ago when we got the right to vote and running for office. And there were no planes. So how did they do it? And I guess maybe the bigger question is, now that we have all these advantages, what are we doing? How are we growing our leadership? How are we growing the leadership of others? And the Famous Five Foundation has certainly benefited from the leadership of many, many women and good-hearted men too over the years. We are particularly, of course, grateful to the magnificent monument funders, to the other donors, generous donors, and to corporations who have helped us tell the story of how Canada has been built with the contributions of women as well. Our key sponsor over the past 20 years has been Enbridge. This corporate leader has generously helped us have leadership lunches in Calgary, in Ottawa, in Sarnia, Fort McMurray, and Edmonton. And now they are the presenting sponsor of these virtual Pink Teas, which now go all across Canada and a little bit into the States and a little bit into Australia and UK. So it is now my pleasure to introduce a spokesperson from Enbridge. Her name is Pamela Young. And in corporate speak, she is the manager, liquids, pipelines, capital planning. But in other words, she is an exceptionally talented accountant, auditor, and chartered financial analyst. This former Ukrainian dancer and dance teacher, how appropriate that Enbridge would send us dancing representative today. But now Pamela is a rower, and she's also president of the Calgary Rowing Club. So Pamela has the pleasure, the honor of introducing our very special guest today. And I'm going to say thank you, Enbridge. Thank you, Pamela, and over to you.
Thank you, Frances. It is an honor to be here today on behalf of Enbridge. We've been a proud sponsor of the Famous Five Foundation for nearly 20 years, and we wholeheartedly support the Foundation's vision to champion the development and recognition of Canadian female leaders. We share this goal within Enbridge and continue to work on our commitment to diversity and inclusion, and to celebrate and promote the legacy of the Famous Five. I want to thank the Foundation for continuing to offer us the opportunity to connect and learn from outstanding female leaders, and to also acknowledge their resiliency and creativity despite the limitations presented by the current pandemic. Creativity and leadership are key characteristics that define today's speakers. It is my great pleasure to introduce one of the most gifted classical dancers of Canada, Karen Kain. Karen has been celebrated internationally for her compelling characterizations and versatility as a performer, and now this beloved icon is also respected as an international arts leader. Born in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada's premier ballerina, Karen Kain, received her training at the National Ballet of Canada and joined their Corps de Ballet in 1969. In 1971, she was invited to be their principal dancer after her sensational debut as the Swan Queen in Swan Lake. The world of ballet soon also applauded, awarding her the silver medal in the women's category at the prestigious International Ballet Competition in Moscow in 1973. And together with her partner, Frank Augustin, she received a special prize for Best Pas de Deux. Our beloved ballet icon has performed many of ballet's greatest roles with the world's best ballet companies. She has partnered creatively with legendary dancers and choreographers, and gracefully transitioned in 1997 when she became the artist in residence at the National Ballet. In 2005, Ms. Kain became the artistic director, and later this year, she will assume new responsibilities as the Artistic Director Emeritus of the National Ballet of Canada. It is our pleasure to celebrate this inspiring recipient of national and international awards, including the Order of Canada, the Order of Ontario, and letters by the Government of France, and the first Canadian to be honored with the Queen Elizabeth II Coronation Award, Karen Kain. Leading the conversation with Karen today is Dawn McDonald. Ballet was Dawn's first career and remains her passion. Dawn's career achievements include being a dancer, a dance teacher, a choreographer, and founder of the Dawn McDonald Dance Academy, currently McDonald Wilson Dance Academy. As well, Dawn has contributed her leadership skills as a former member of the Royal Academy of Dance, the Imperial Society of Dance, Alberta Professional Dance Teachers Association, and a founding member of Dance and the Child International. For 12 years, Dawn served as a director of the Alberta Ballet Board, culminating as chair of the board. She has also significantly contributed to the Calgary Stampede and is a founding member of the original Ronald McDonald House in Calgary. Trailblazer Dawn is the first woman to be a director for the Rotary Club of Calgary and the Rotary Clubs of Calgary Foundation. Also with us today is Galien Johnston-Hattori. Galien received her training at the National Ballet School of Canada. Upon graduation, she danced for the National Ballet of Canada before moving to the Hamburg Ballet in Germany, where she worked with some of the world's top choreographers. In 2006, Galien joined the Alberta Ballet as a principal dancer and starred in many new and existing works for Alberta Ballet. Upon her retirement, Galien began teaching ballet throughout Alberta and in Japan. In 2016, Galien opened her school, HW School of Ballet, with her partners Yukichi Hattori and Tara Williamson, and has become a leading dance educator in Alberta. It is now time to celebrate a Canadian icon, Karen Kain, and learn from her and her colleagues how transferable leadership skills are developed through ballet. Dawn, over to you.
Thank you, Pamela. And thank you again to Enbridge and all the years that you've continued your support for a great organization. We thank you all. Good afternoon, everyone, our guests, my guests, and our audience. This is a very grand day for me. I am so excited to be here. I'm thrilled to have Karen and Galien as my guests. And it has it's been exciting just getting ready for this. First of all, Karen, people have already talked about your accomplishments, so I'm not going to do that again, and the same with Galien. But what I'd like to start with is the reason for us being here is our conversation, a virtual conversation, pink tea, won't you have that? And we are going to talk about leadership and the dance. My definition of leadership that I really relate to is a person who possesses serious commitment with a clear vision They have integrity, they have humility, they have enthusiasm. I don't think that you can be a leader without a certain amount of enthusiasm to take you down the road and have everyone come with you. So my question is, Karen, I'll start with you. Do you believe that leaders are born, or do you believe that leadership traits are taught and learned?
I think it's a combination of both. I can tell you very frankly, I never imagined myself as a leader. It kind of evolved with time, and it evolved because a lot of people believed I could do things that I hadn't imagined I could do. But then that's the way my dance career went also. There were people who believed in me and gave me chances. And when I faltered or felt I wasn't really good enough to do certain things, or I didn't have the technique, they just helped me get there. So I've never been someone who had the full confidence that I was capable of everything and anything. I admire that in people, but it wasn't me. And I really relied on experts. I relied on people to talk me into believing in myself. Dancers are also, for the most part, quite humble. They want to, well, most of the ones I've known, they want to improve. They want more information. They never think they've got it, like they figured it out. Certainly, even though I'm another generation now, and we were even more timid. Dancers are less timid now, but no, it's been, for me, it was listening and learning and believing, and people showing me the way and believing in me to do things.
That's great, Karen. Thank you. Galien, can we have your opinion on this too?
Yeah, I agree with Karen. I think it's a bit of both. I've certainly been very lucky to have wonderful role models all throughout my career, and at school as well. I have Mavis Staines and Denise Schultz, and watching Karen as a young dancer myself. So many really inspiring people to look up to. And I've had wonderful leaders in the companies I've been in, watching John Neumeier and how he led Hamburg Ballet and created, and having people like you, Dawn, around at Alberta Ballet, really showing the high standards of what it is to help other people, to work together, to lift people up. And I think the more we can learn from each other, the more it enriches you to become someone who can lift others up as well. So I think it's a continuing journey. I'm certainly still on it.
It's great. Thank you, Galien. It is a very interesting process for most people, I feel. I don't feel that we just come out confident and we're ready to take on the world in most cases. And it's a long path to learn this, but I think a lot of us are able to do it, and we carry on and do it. Both of you have talked about people helping you. For some people, mentors are essential to being successful. And if you're lucky enough to have had mentors, I would like to have you maybe talk about how they helped you in a bit more detail. Or if you would feel free to name some names, that would be great. It's so important to have someone that you can count on, that has your back, that is concerned. I just feel that that's, it's just a wonderful thing to feel, especially as you go into the studio and you're learning something new. You know that you're not alone. You have someone there to help you, either in the studio or outside of the studio. And could I get you to comment on that, Karen? Some of them don't have to be in the studio or on the stage. They can be from somewhere else, another field. So let me hear what you've got to say.
Well, most of my mentors were within the field. I think Galien will agree that when you're a dancer, you spend all your time in the studio. When you're a professional, it just consumes your life, and you're so exhausted by the end of the day. It's not like you're out meeting and greeting unless you need to, because you have wonderful sponsors who are supporting.
Exactly.
It's yeah, it's hard. So I felt, I had a very tough artistic director. It was really old school, Celia Franca, an amazing woman, and she founded the National Ballet of Canada, and she was really tough. But under all that toughness, she had a side that when you delivered, when you pulled it off, when you gave everything you had and achieved a certain level, she was warm and kind. But you knew the next day she'd be all over you again about how something wasn't good enough. Again, I don't think that dancers are treated quite like that anymore. It's still a very demanding profession, but I think there's a way to really push people beyond what they imagine they're capable of doing without being mean. And I think that nowadays that's the way that we achieve things with artists. It's much kinder. It's still a very hard profession, but it's much kinder.
Thank you, Karen. Galien, what's your opinion?
Yeah, I think for me, like Karen said, as a dancer, you're always in the studio. For me, a really important support system were my colleagues, my friends in the companies that I worked in. For example, when I moved to Germany, I was 19. You have no family with you, and really you're relying just on yourself, your own grit, and the people that you work with every day. And so for me, those were really important people in my life, my colleagues, and of course, my family at home. They were always there to lift me up. It's a very challenging career. There's many highs and lows that come with it. And so I think it is important that you have those people that you hold close to you who can kind of pick you up when things are tough and celebrate with you when they're going well.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think that family is so important. I was very fortunate to have a family that not only encouraged all six of us to dance, but to take on athletics, music, art, whatever you felt you were interested in, and then supported us as we went along. And I would say for me, my mother and father were more mentors than anyone in particular in dance, except for a couple of people like the founders of the Royal Winnipeg Ballet. I was fortunate enough to take classes with Gwyneth Lloyd and Betty Fairley, and they helped me. I was young then, and they helped me to gain the confidence. While I must say that ballet is the hardest thing I have ever done in my life. It is demanding. The discipline is incredible. The focus is incredible, but the rewards, as we know, are amazing, amazing. It's like a journey in itself. Speaking of journeys, it is said that journeys worth taking can be, journeys worth taking. Lost it. I'm so excited about what I'm talking about. Journeys worth taking are seldom easy. And we know that you both have had incredible journeys in your life. Dance is your life, and that is that's a wonderful place to be from my perspective. Would you enlighten us on your journey and some of the challenges that you had as you were going through this incredible journey to end up where you are now? And Galien, how about if I start with you?
Sure. Well, I think my journey with ballet started when I was a really little girl. My mom took me to see Sadler's Wells doing Swan Lake in Edmonton when I was 3, and I just fell in love with it. And from that moment on, I thought I have to be there. I can't be anywhere but in the theater and on the stage, which brought me to the National Ballet School when I was 9 years old. And I think that was the first really difficult hurdle for me with dance. Meant that I had to leave my family, my home, at a very young age. I grew up in the boarding school with 24 other girls on my floor, and we did everything there. We lived there, went to school there, trained for dance there. I certainly dealt with a lot of homesickness. It was not easy for me by any means to be far from home. So that was sort of the first test, though, as well, to know how much I wanted it, how much I loved it, was that I could stick it through. Even I remember calling home many times to my parents, no, I want to come home. I don't want to do this anymore. And my dad would say, okay, well, I'll buy you a plane ticket. Well, no, don't do that. So, you want to stay? Yes, I do. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
So
Of course you do.
And I struggled with that my whole life away. Then when I was 19, again, I took a big step. I moved to Germany. I always was very intrigued about ballet in Europe, and I just wanted to experience that. And I was very lucky to get into the Hamburg Ballet Company and danced there for 7 years, which was amazing. And we toured a lot. But then I had definitely had challenges. You're in a new culture, different language, very far from home. Growing up with the National, I felt like I had said goodbye to yet another family of the people I had been with for many years. And then I think there came other things with being so far away and being without that support system. You face certain self-doubt about, am I good enough? Am I going to make it where I want? There's a lot that you have to face up to every day as a dancer, I think, just with confidence and because it's so difficult, so tiring, physically, mentally, emotionally, it can be wonderful when it's wonderful and very difficult when it's difficult. And we all go through that with that journey. And so that's, I think my last year in Hamburg, I suffered quite a bad back injury, and I wasn't sure if I would be able to dance at all, or if so, for much longer. So I really wanted to come home, be near my family again. They had never really seen me dance very much because I left so young. And so that's the move to Alberta Ballet came. I could be much closer to my family here in Calgary. They were in Edmonton at the time. And but I think generally the challenges for me with dance was that it always seemed to be taking me away from people I love. As much as it brought me many more people that I love in my life, I always felt like you're always saying goodbye as well, whether it's to friends or to family. Or I think for me, that was a big challenge in it, but it also taught me a lot about being self-sufficient and resilient and sort of getting on with things. You can always keep moving forward no matter what.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Karen, can you enlighten us about your journey a bit?
Well, I had a lot of the same journey because I was also left home when I was very young, although my parents were in Mississauga, so it wasn't like I was that far away, but I was at the ballet school, and I was very lonely, and it was very hard. But I had one teacher, and you wouldn't know him because you're so much younger, but he was just one of the best teachers ever in the ballet school. His name was Daniel Cellier, and he had danced with the Marquis de Cuevas Ballet in Paris, and he was, oh my God, he was such a good teacher, and he literally saved me. I'm not sure I would have made it through the rigors and the homesickness and everything of being in the ballet school if I hadn't had that teacher he just thrilled me every day with his classes, and he made me feel I could do things. And he'd take a number of us home for dinner with his whole family. He had 2 sons and his wife, who she had also been in, he looked after me. And being at the ballet school is very difficult. I know it's so much better now. It's just much better. It's evolved tremendously, and there's a lot of wonderful things they do for the children who are away from home. But it was very hard, and I thought about giving up many times, just because I wanted to be home, and I wanted to be with my dog, and I wanted to be with my cat, and I didn't want to be bucked with 4 other girls in a room, but I'm glad I stuck it out because it was well worth it.
It certainly was for both of you. And I think that being away when you're young is one of the most difficult things that you can do. But it seems it's essential if you want to have a career in dance. And as we know, some countries take children much younger than we do. And that can be another challenge, I think. It must be so difficult to be away from everything you know and love. So yes, I understand that. So how does ballet, let's say let's say, ask for 3 challenges that you have in ballet after you've already trained, after you have become a dancer, and you go forward as a leader. All of a sudden, you're leading. You've stepped in front of some of the dancers that you work with every day. And are there difficulties in that? And also other challenges that may present themselves that the average person wouldn't think of. Karen, could you start, please?
So are you meaning when you've stopped dancing?
No, when you move from training,
Oh.
like taking class. We know we take class every day, but taking class as to learning the steps, as to moving forward as a student, and all of a sudden you're dancing. We know the learning continues.
Yes.
For sure.
Oh, sure. And it's very hard when I think I was 18 when I joined the National Ballet of Canada, and you feel really intimidated by the principal dancers and the soloists, and you have to find your place. But I did find the National Ballet of Canada, even in those days, and it was a long time ago, were very humane. There were always a few who had a bit of an edge that didn't want anyone else to do too well or get a role, there were a few of those. But mostly it was a wonderful company. And of course now, all these years later, it's so different. The way people are treated, the way young ones are nurtured when they come in. We have a whole bunch of apprentices and they get so well looked after, and we have people you can talk to if you're struggling, and it's so different in such a good way. But it's tough in the beginning because you're missing your parents and your siblings and your dog and cat and all that stuff. Even as when you've just become a professional and you're only 18, you miss your family dreadfully. So you kind of build a new kind of family in a company that's receptive to that. Mm-hmm. And we are that. We help the.
Yeah. Galien, I was going to say, when you were at the school, did they let you have a cat or a dog so you wouldn't be like? No, I'm sure they don't now even. But do you feel that it has changed? Do you know what is happening there now that would have changed since you were there?
I think probably technology has changed everything. I mean, I remember going down to the laundry room in the basement, and there was 3 payphones, and you'd call collect home, and 2 incoming phone lines that parents could call. But if there's 2 phones and a lot of kids in that residence, so it could be hours before you get your name on the they would call you Galien Johnston, line 1, and you'd run and pick up the phone for hi mom, But now, I mean, everybody has an iPad or a computer or a cell phone. I'm sure it would have changed everything for me if I could have Skyped or FaceTimed and I think that makes a world of difference already.
Mm-hmm. I think it does too. Like, look at us today. Here we are with our guests and our audience, and we're talking about interesting things. I hope that everyone is learning something. We should be learning things every day. It's a wonderful thing to do. And leadership stands out for me in so many ways in our lives. And I believe that ballet prepares people for leadership if they want to take on a role like that. I think that you have to be a certain type of person that is willing to jump in and take the leadership role. And I think that dancers have that ability because they learn to take risks all the time as they're learning new steps. When they say, when a teacher says to you, just stand in the corner, absolutely straight, with your hands down by your side, and just fall straight forward. Don't bend, just fall straight forward. When you do that the first time, you have to trust that teacher and you have to take that risk. So I think ballet is a lot of risk, and it really helps to have mentors and leaders to follow. And then for you to step forward and be a leader yourself is such a great gift to our young people and our future. I just think it's amazing. So I was going to ask about, how does ballet assist or help or show issues about injustice, fairness, racial issues? Karen, excuse me, Karen, would you start, please?
Sure. Well, it's very different now, in a good way. So these are open discussions and topics. And, you know, way back when I was dancing, there was no one of any color in the National Ballet of Canada. Nowadays, we have a very diverse company of fantastic dancers. And, you know, I'm very proud of that. Probably more diverse than most companies I've seen anywhere. I don't know about here in Alberta yet because I haven't seen the company for a while. But of course, you need the right people to want to be in your company. If they don't audition and they don't show up, you can't hire them. But we have quite a number. And then we have this extraordinary young man who's come through the Canada's National Ballet School. His name is Sipe November, and he is an extraordinary dancer. He's like one in a million kind of dancer. He's from South Africa, and he came through the school, and I watched him in the school shows at the end of the year, and I was just praying that he would want to come to the National Ballet of Canada, and he did. And I am, you know, everyone loves him. He won the Eric Brune Award in Toronto this competing with international companies, the Royal Ballet in London, the Danish National Ballet, the you know, major New York, what is it, Kevin McKenzie. Anyway, major companies from around the world. This is something that Eric Brune put into place in order to give advantages to young dancers to be seen and to have a moment. And Sipe won. I mean, it was fantastic. But we have, as I said, a very diverse company, and I hope it will get more and more diverse. And I'm very, very proud of the way the National Ballet of Canada looks.
Thank you, Karen. Galien, you've got an insight on this as well from the Alberta Ballet and also from your own school and studio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think through my years with Alberta Ballet, there was always quite a bit of diversity within the company. And certainly at our school, we want all children to come and dance. It really is for everybody. And we hope that people feel the call to dance and that they want to come and join. I think as artists, we are always striving to communicate and to touch on issues that are present in our society and to make things better. I think at the heart of most artists, that's what we want, is to make the world a better place and make it a place where people communicate with each other and share with each other. And so I think as a dance educator now, the more I can use my school and my platform to make every child feel welcome, to give them at least an idea of what this world is, and then it's their choice if you want to stay or go or support it or not. But that everybody feels like there's a place for them. I think it's a message that we're hearing all around the world right now, and I'm very happy to see more and more diversity within the ballet world.
I think that's fabulous. I also think one of the ways that we can deal with those issues is through choreography. And we have so many great choreographers that are well known and have been there and have done a lot of great work for injustice and for inequalities. But there are so many young, new, exciting choreographers. It just swells my heart to think that all these young people want to choreograph. You don't have to choreograph just because you're a dancer. But when you're a dancer, if you want to choreograph, it's almost like you can't hold it in. You have to let it out. It has to come out and it has to be seen. You want your message delivered. And how do you see that, Galien?
In young choreographers, or?
Yes.
I think the more voices we can get out on stage, the better. I think, there's different, I know Hamburg used to have a young choreographers competition, and now they still do a feature performance usually, where they're really encouraging young dancers to explore that side, to explore. I mean, me personally, I'm very uncomfortable choreographing. It's not never was my interest. I prefer to dance the steps I'm given and interpret them. But I think for anybody who has that desire to express themselves in that way, the more opportunity we can provide, the richer the fabric of our art form becomes.
Exactly. Karen, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I agree. I think it has to be a kind of calling. You have to really want to do it to be a choreographer. We fairly regularly hold choreographic workshops and allow people to explore that. And we have found quite a bit of talent within the organization that are, just getting together with their colleagues and creating lovely things. We have one of our principal dancers who's created a number of things that are really, really beautiful. Brendan Say, who's also a stunning dancer who also came through Canada's National Ballet School. And he's a very good choreographer. He did a piece that was seen by Kevin McKenzie at American Ballet Theatre and asked him to set the piece on the apprentices at American Ballet Theatre. So his career is starting to go ahead, not just as a dancer, but as a choreographer. But it is a calling. You have to have a real desire to do it and to believe you have something to say as a choreographer. And then there are ways you can do that. We are providing opportunities for anyone who wants to try choreography to do it.
It is very different to me than dancing. I guess I'm not a natural choreographer. I've done some choreography, and it didn't particularly come easy. And so I would say that I don't have the burning desire in my heart to do this, but I do feel that the people that do, they just seem to all of a sudden pop up. There they are, and they have all these ideas and some ideas on a couple of combinations and movements. And so I just think, oh, I'm so glad here's another young, great choreographer coming up. And I don't have to do it now. So I think it's so fabulous when schools and companies give young people an opportunity to do choreography. We can send so many messages through choreography. We tell stories through choreography, through dance, but we also can help with major issues in the world. There have been some very good ballets that have been choreographed just for that. So I think that this is just a very exciting time, and it is very different, Karen, than when you were at school. One of the things I find very interesting is that now, as leaders in dance, we must prepare our dancers differently for auditions than we would have many, many years ago. Because it seems to me, in my experience, that dancers now have to be able to go to the back of the studio after they've done some ballet in their audition, and then pick up some jazz shoes, put those on, and go and do some jazz or some modern dance to show their versatility. And I think that for a lot of dancers, that's helped them because some kinds of dance are not as difficult as ballet, especially when you've already done your ballet training. What do you think of that, Galien?
Yeah, so again, as a dance educator now, and having sort of come out of the professional dance world not too long ago, we're definitely aware of the sort of versatility, I suppose, that a dancer needs to have. Certainly with contemporary dance as well as ballet, it's quite prevalent in the professional world right now. And ballet companies, you will be expected to do both at some point. And so we have a full contemporary program within our training as well at our school. But even I was always grateful, like at National Ballet School, we had character and flamenco. I had a little session, I remember, of Chinese. We did a little bit of Chinese dance. We had a guest come in, and we had Manaka Takar, who was a beautiful Indian dancer. I loved the classes that we did. It was about a month only, I think. But I think all of the more you can soak in, again, the richer an artist you become, and the more you're able to give back to a choreographer when they're asking for whatever you have to give them. The more you can give them, the more interesting the piece becomes, and the sort of more fun the communication becomes between dancer and
one of the ways that Galien is bringing along young dancers is giving them a chance to participate in presenting a question to experts in their field, and particularly today to Karen. And so I would like to run the question that 8-year-old Elena has for Karen, and Karen, for you to respond, please.
Hi, my name is Elena, and I'm 10 years old. I've been dancing since I was 4, and my dream is to become a professional ballerina and be as successful as you are. The more that I'm exposed to the ballet world, the more that I realize that there are many young, talented dancers that are as focused and dedicated as I am. I would like to know, based on your experience and opinion, how can I become a ballet leader? Gracias.
Well, first of all, could she be more adorable? Oh my goodness. A ballet leader. I'm not quite sure if she means as a professional ballet dancer or as a leader, like running a company or something like that. I'm not quite sure what she's meaning. And she's so young, maybe she doesn't know exactly. But it sounds to me, just listening to your presence and your abilities, that you could be any kind of leader you want to be. I don't think you can figure that out at your age just yet. I think you just take in every experience that you can and see where life leads you. And I didn't know what I was going to do when I was young. I just knew what I loved to do. So you got to follow what you love and see where it takes you. And you can do whatever you want to do. So I wish you all the best. And I'd love to hear from you about 10 years down the road or 20 years down the road as to how it's all going for you.
Oh, Galien, aren't you proud of how Elena has asked this question and the response that she has received from Karen? Lucky Elena. And we have another one, Dawn. I think we did also, Hilit had a question as well for Karen. So perhaps we can hear from her at this time too, please.
Hello, my name is Khalid and I dance at HW School of Ballet. The best thing about ballet for me is the feeling I get when I dance. When I dance, I feel free, and I feel that I can express myself the best. Another thing I love about dancing is that it's very challenging. I'm constantly learning, growing, and improving. What is the best thing about ballet for you? Thank you for answering my question. It was an honor to ask you.
Everything that you mentioned was the same for me. And it sounds like you have the desire and the bug for this profession. So you should just keep following your heart, feeling your way, and see if you continue to have the same passion and desire to do this as you go through life. And if you do, nothing's going to stop you. That would be my advice.
So Dawn, you've asked some wonderful questions of Karen and Galien, but also when people registered for the session today, they sent in a number of questions. And so I'm going to just quickly run through 4 of them and ask for very quick answers from the 3 of you. I'll start with Karen. Karen, Valerie, Nicole, and Lisa want to know, how do you translate success on the stage to success elsewhere in your life? And I must admit, watching this discussion, I've been thinking every time, how does it apply to me as a plumber? How does it apply to me as an executive? How does it apply to me? So we're particularly interested in this answer, Karen. How do you translate success on stage to success elsewhere?
Wow. I'm not quite sure how to advise here, because for me personally, the only thing that mattered to me for many, many years was my life as a dancer. I was totally dedicated and nothing else mattered. I just made sure I got a good sleep and went back at it. And I was completely obsessed with it. Now that's something that at a certain point, when it starts to hurt a lot more, I started to rethink that a little bit. But I loved it passionately. I was obsessive with it. And many dancers that I know are like that. And they even go on doing it, as I did, long after they should. And that the pain is, you know, you get a lot of damage in your joints and your feet after that kind of determination and dedication. And we didn't have the same, you know, we weren't looked after the same way in my day. Nowadays, we have physiotherapists for our dancers every day. They're looked after beautifully, and they don't have to go through quite as much pain as earlier generations did. But we didn't know any better, and we were passionate about our work, and we put up with a lot of pain. Now I've forgotten the question.
How do you translate success on the stage to elsewhere?
Well, I think you do, because you develop an incredible discipline to care so deeply about something and to be so invested in it, and to the people you work with and what you learn about yourself, not only as an athlete, but as an artist. You learn about the personalities that you have to find to be a real artist on stage. And you're an actor, you're not just a dancer. And that's what I love too, personally. I loved creating characters and being part of the theatrical world, not just the athletic world. But there are things that you pay for. So I think it's a real personal choice, and someone has to be really so infatuated with their life as a dancer that they want to go into it for that long and that hard. And it's totally personal choice.
So this is a rapid fire question for the three of you. So it's just a yes and no. Leslie, Jennifer, and Audrey want to know, is it worth the pain that you went through as a ballet dancer, as you went through as a ballet owner, a business owner? Is it worth the pain? So Dawn, yes or no?
Absolutely yes.
Galien?
Yes.
And Karen?
Yes.
Absolutely. So Brenda and Natalie want to know, which do you like best, the classic ballets or the new works? Dawn?
Classical.
Galien?
Classical.
Karen?
I loved it all.
You like both?
Every sort of dancing, every sort of character, I loved Sleeping Beauty, and I loved all the contemporary work as well. Yeah.
So another quick question from Audra and Annalise. Who are the up and coming ballet stars in Canada today? So for the three of you, I'll start again with Dawn. What's the name that comes to mind when you think of ballet stars of Canada?
Right now, I'm so focused in Calgary that I would have to say Yukichi Hattori, who is Galien's husband, who has always been an amazing dancer to me. And he is going to be doing some even greater things in the next couple of years. I just know it. I don't have any secrets to tell. And you know I wouldn't. But I just know I've had focused on him since I first met him. I can't remember how many years ago, Galien, it must be 15, because I also volunteered before at the ballet school. So Yukichi.
Sorry, Dawn, finish, please.
Yes, I am finished. Thank you.
Oh, you are, okay. And Galien, now that was a tremendous endorsement from Dawn of your husband. Who's the ballet star you're looking forward to seeing develop?
Well, I think when I think about Canadian ballerinas today, I think to an old colleague from National of mine, which is Heather Ogden, who Karen knows very well. She's a beautiful ballerina there right now, and a friend, and so I'm so happy for her success, and I hope I can see her dance again. I'm far away in Calgary from Toronto, but I always enjoy watching her.
So Karen, I don't know if that's a fair question to ask you. A number of people asked us to ask you, what was your favorite ballet? Who was your favorite partner? So maybe this question falls into the same realm. Is it a one you're comfortable answering as the artistic director?
Even if I weren't the artistic director, there are so many talented dancers in the National Ballet of Canada right now. It's kind of unbelievable. And, every generation that comes through from Canada's National Ballet School is astonishing. And I'm just grateful to have as many of them in the organization as I can. But I have to say, if you ever get a chance, oh dear, sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry. If you get a chance to see Sipe November dance, it's a phenomenon. He's just something extraordinary.
Sorry, please tell me the name again.
Sipe November.
And is he part of National Ballet School?
He went
Or
to
National
National Ballet School. He came from the projects in South Africa, and he was supported by a family in Toronto who helped pay for him to come. His brother his brother is also an amazing dancer, who's ended up in a company in London. And Sipe I watched through the school, and sorry.
Real life, that's just fine, don't worry.
It's just my best. I'm hanging up on her, but that's okay.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's I hope he will stay. I would anyway. Yes, but there's an embarrassment of riches with the young ones coming out of the ballet school and the ones who are developing, and then of course our principal dancers like Heather Ogden, who's extraordinary artist. So yeah.
So Karen, just very briefly, what's the difference between the National Ballet School and the National Ballet of Canada? And are they gender equal?
They are separate institutions that have different boards of directors, different fundraising, and they are the ones that take in the young dancers from across Canada and from around the world and train them beautifully for careers in dance. You will find graduates of Canada's National Ballet School in companies all over the world, and in the National Ballet of Canada, and probably in Alberta Ballet, and probably everywhere. And it's separate. It has separate board of directors, separate fundraising, everything. The National Ballet of Canada is a separate entity.
Thank you for that. And you're with the National Ballet of Canada?
Yes, but I trained at Canada's National Ballet School, as did many, many of the dancers who are in the company now. Generations of dancers from Canada's National.
Right. Well, it's now my pleasure, but also my sadness, to wrap up our conversation today. It's been really wonderful to hear you talk about the complexities, the nuances, and the other benefits that come out of simply, I say simply, not as a ballerina, simply taking ballet classes. Very, very informative. And Karen, you simply are an extraordinary leader. As people have mentioned, you are very humble, and your leadership shines, I think, because of your humility, but also because of your clarity. You're very clear on where you want to go and where you want your colleagues to follow. And that's a terrific leadership trait. Dawn, thank you very much for your long contribution to ballet in many, many different ways. I know I felt badly interrupting the conversation because I know you were just getting into some fascinating issues about ballet and the business of ballet and the leadership of ballet. But thank you very much for all you're doing in that regard. And Galien, it's been a pleasure to meet you. And I thank you particularly for Elena and Hilit's wonderful questions. Quite clearly, these are leaders of the future. And so as this is a tea, a pink tea, I'm hoping you all have your teacup, or you have a glass of water or a coffee mug, and that you will join me in a toast to this panel, to these remarkable leaders, not only in dance, but in the building of Canada. So to Karen, to Galien, to Dawn, to Elena, and to Hilit, thank you very much. A toast.
A toast. A toast.
Thank you. And now I'm going to ask our talented AV crew from Encore Canada to allow these three wonderful leaders to relax a bit. And I'm just going to bring you 5 pieces of news that hopefully will continue your leadership journey. And the first one is the mention of a name, and the name is Sarah Thomas. So who knows Sarah Thomas? Who watched the Super Bowl on Sunday? So Sarah Thomas was the first female NFL official to work the game. So we hope there will be many more on the field. And I can't leave without mentioning the cheerleaders and the fact that they need to be properly compensated for the benefits that they bring to the football games as well. So a cup, a toast to Sarah Thomas and all the other women who are breaking barriers for other women. Now, my next one is for a woman called Donna Strickland. Donna Strickland, does that ring a bell? Well, yesterday was the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. And that's when some of us learned about Donna. And we're 3 years late, oh dear, in congratulating Donna. She's a professor of physics at Waterloo University. And she and her colleague, Gerard Moreau, were recognized, and this is the technical term, for their practical implementation of chirped pulse amplification. And how they were recognized is they received the Nobel Prize for Physics 3 years ago. So Donna, I'm sorry we're only doing this now, but here's to Donna and the other female scientists of Canada. To Donna. Now this is also Black History Month. And last month we had the pleasure of meeting the Honorable Jean Augustine, the first Afro-Canadian woman to serve in a federal cabinet. Absolutely terrific. She inspired all of us, and she's inspiring a phenomenal cadre of young women leaders. For me, this month is dedicated to Viola Desmond. My dear friend Janice Eisenhower, who started Canadian Women for Women Afghanistan, gave me this tea towel, TEA towel, from the Radical Tea, TEA Towel Company, initially out of the UK, but also here in Canada. Viola Desmond is rumored to have inspired Rosa Parks, because what Viola did in terms of civil rights, demanding equality, predated Rosa Parks. And so I would like us to toast to Viola Desmond and all the other civil rights leaders in Canada. To Viola. Now I'm pleased to announce that we're going to be having a remarkable Indigenous leader next month on March the 5th. The Ottawa Famous Five chapter have invited Cindy Blackstock, a PhD social worker who has significantly overcome legal, legislative, historical practices in terms of the lack of funding and support for Indigenous children. And we'll hear more about her success, her struggle, and why it's making such a big difference and needed to be done. So Cindy Blackstock on March the 5th, please. Then in April, we're going to talk about some of the physical disabilities women have and the mental challenges that come with it, with an outstanding Canadian. And in May, we're going to meet Beverly McLaughlin, the former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Canada. And now she's transitioned into being a best-selling Canadian author. And apparently there's a new book coming. She has 2 books, but there's another book coming. So we hope you will join us for March, April, and May. And the last toast is, as some of you know, is to each and every one of us, because Canada needs us to be a leader. And we are leaders at different times in different ways. So I would like you to toast yourself by saying, to me, I'm a leader too. So to me, I'm a leader too. So my thanks again to the remarkable, beloved icon, Karen Kain, to Dawn McDonald, our community leader, and to Galien Johnston-Hattori, who is preparing future leaders. And we will go out by hearing a song that was written and performed by a woman by the name of Jeanette Arsenault. Jeanette is well known and has toured throughout Canada and elsewhere in the world. And she's a member of the Business and Professional Women's Club, which is a fantastic organization. Now, they have international conferences. And in the year 2011, Jeanette was asked to come and to present her song called Women of the World. So like the delegates that were there in Helsinki, which you will see, it's a very charming, personal video you're going to watch as you hear the song, as you learn the song, the Women of the World. Please enjoy. Please remember you are a leader too, and that you're a protege of the Famous Five. The spirit of the Famous Five is within you. So I thank you for coming today. Merci, miigwech, a bientôt, bye-bye, and over to Jeanette.
Hey, hey, hey.